First, the feeding of the 5,000. Do you know this is completely unique in all the miracles of Jesus? It's the only miracle referred to in all four Gospels, so they obviously regarded it as really important. Also, by the way, it's a fascinating study in types of bread. We read that the boys' 5 loaves were barley loaves. For 2 more weeks they will eat barley loaves. Then it will be Passover, and for 7 days they will only eat unleavened bread. Then, joy of joys, on the day of Pentecost, they can start eating bread made with wheat. 3 kinds of bread. Bread for the poor, bread for the suffering, bread for the rich. It's all tied in with the life of Jesus and the festivals of Israel. Now, in the first 3 Gospels, it's actually the disciples who point out the problem of the hungry crowd. But in John's Gospel, it's Jesus who points it out. Where will we find bread for all these people to eat? Jesus is concerned for the needs of the multitude. He was then and he is now. And he's pointing out the achingly big gap between the needs of the world and the small resources we have to meet them. And he asks the question, where will we find bread? Now, in the first 3 Gospels, the disciples had a very simple answer to that question. They simply said, send them away. Wouldn't it be nice if we could send away the poor and the needy and we could get on with our lives in peace? But Jesus will not allow that. The needs are so vast. All of the poor, all of the hungry, all of the unemployed, all of the uneducated, all of the abused, all of those under tyranny, all of those whose country has been invaded. Jesus will not allow us just to send them away. And in the first 3 Gospels, he gives his solution. You give them something to eat. Oh my word, how will we do that? But that challenge has been a challenge for the church, which the church at times has met wonderfully for 2,000 years. Well, Philip responds immediately like the accountant that he is. He works out in his head very quickly that it would take 8 months' wages to give every person 1 bite. I'm fascinated. It's not 7 months, it's not 9 months, 8 months. He's got it worked out. He has no faith. He's thinking in bites. Jesus is thinking in gigabytes. I must say, by the way, in defense of accountants, that in all my churches, I never had a faithless accountant or treasurer. I remember one occasion we were considering a massive building program. It was huge to us. And we did all our homework and got all the expenses. And then we said to the treasurer, can we do it? And he gave this wonderful answer. He said, if you were a business coming to me for advice, I would say no. But as a member of this church, I say yes. And we went ahead and did it. And it was paid for in 5 years. But Philip had no faith. Andrew had some faith. Otherwise, why would he bring the boy with his 5 loaves and 2 fishes? But then he went and spoilt it all by saying something stupid. What is that among so many? I once said something a bit like that. Back in the days of apartheid, there was an inhuman system where old people had to come and queue before dawn in the cold of a high-felt winter to receive their pension. And so the churches clubbed together and arranged to bring some soup and bread to them. And one day I was one of the servers and I came to a very old, very poor woman. And as I gave it to her, like the other Andrew, I said, as I gave her a yogurt cup of soup and 2 pieces of bread, I said, I'm sorry it's so little. And she looked up at me with her rheumy eyes and taught me one of the great lessons of my life. She said, never say it's little. If you give it in Jesus' name, it becomes big.